Yeah, I mean a lot of the places, the distilleries do close early, but you should definitely make reservations at the Michter's bar.
Yeah.
Awesome cocktails, and they give you like complimentary little nuts and things, and
Yeah, I've heard that's
it's
an
a
absolute
yeah, it's a
go-to.
fancy like bar, and all the cocktails sound weird, but they taste unreal.
You had Jake at complimentary nuts.
I
Hell yeah.
was waiting for you to comment on that, Dan. Trying to set you up for a good cold open.
There you go, Kyle.
Kyle.
Fucking Kyle.
Critiquing the podcast.
That's the best we got.
He's the
That's the
social
best we
media
got.
manager. He's supposed to just kiss our asses and
Don't say manager because that implies wage.
social media coordinator.
Bitch.
Social media bitch. That's fine.
Yep.
A podcast about bourbon and the ones who drink it. This is Bourbon Matters. Welcome to Bourbon Matters. I'm Jake.
Dan.
And I'm Gold
voice
Eagle
just-
Jake.
Did your voice crack?
No,
Are you going through puberty?
it didn't crack.
Jake? It went up, didn't it?
I don't think it cracked.
I laughed. I laughed while I started talking.
Okay.
So, Jesus. So we're talking about whiskeys that are blends of two different mash bills from the same distillery. There's been a few of these coming out recently. The most recent example is Heaven Hill's Double Mash Bottled in Bond, which is a blend of their low rye mash bill and their wheated mash bill. Some other ones are Willett Distillery Kentucky Vintage, which is a mash of, or two mash bills blended together. I didn't know this unless we talked about it and I forgot about it. Star Hill Farms is actually a blend of two different mash bills. Both wheat mash bills, but different percentages of the grains. The most known one is Four Roses. Pretty much every Four Roses project is a blend of multiple mash bills. Lux Road Distillers and Davies County line are, well, some of them are. Their 4-grain is a blend of different mash bills. And then one of the first ones that I remember was the Jack Bonded Triple Mash, which I'm drinking tonight. There's also the Knob Creek Bourbon and Rye blend. Yeah, so I thought it was
High
interesting
West
that we're
Boo
kind
Rye.
of...
Hoorah!
yeah, it's another one. Isn't Campfire Whiskey another one too?
High
Yeah.
West is basically everything's blended because they don't produce much and then
Yeah.
they just mix everything.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting that there seems to be an increasing number of these bottles. I was kind of curious what you guys thought of it.
Well, I got
Meh.
one word, and then we can dive into it a little deeper. Marketing.
Mine was going to be, I had another M word, but it was money.
Money. I mean, the two go hand in hand,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I mean,
We weren't far off each other.
when you try to come up with a list of different things that are blended, a lot of these are like catchy items that were hot for a little bit, or maybe still are hot. But then the other half of the list is brands that have been around for a long time and bottles that have been around for a long time. And like the Four Roses example, which just everything they have is a blend of their two different mash bills, unless you're purchasing a single barrel. So yeah, it's marketing. It's, how do we sell more whiskey without waiting 8 years for something to mature. You blend two different things together and come up with something new. That's
Yeah,
the easy
that's
answer.
yeah. I mean, that's exactly what it is, though. It's yeah, you can't produce something new in a day in whiskey. Um, Almost anything that's going to hit a market, especially from big distilleries, is going to be 4 to 5 years at a minimum. So, how do you make something new in a year, in a couple of years, when you instead of waiting 4 or 5 years, is you just take stuff that you have that's already old enough and blend it with something else, get something new, slap a new label on it, and put it on a shelf and see what suckers buy. Um, it was it it was a way of trying to keep up and take advantage of the bourbon boom and the whiskey boom. Um, I think now that we've kind of passed that, though, they're now more or less just creating more competition amongst the distillery, each distillery individually by itself. Of too many different labels out there, and Jake, for example, the triple mash from Jack Daniels, what,
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, 4 years ago that rolled out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I know it was all the hype, and you were hyped to get one. I wasn't the biggest fan as that as I was compared to the bonded, but I knew you liked that.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
have
I
you?
think well, go back to episode like 6 where we tried both of those originally or something like that.
That was after that because that was up in your office. That was like the
No,
first 10
yeah, it
episodes somewhere
was
downstairs.
yeah, it was definitely the first season though. Um yeah, we tried I think the triple mash and the bonded side by side, and I think we were all thoroughly impressed with the bonded more so than the triple mash. But I did remember like thinking it was like good. Um Trying it again now after not having tried it for multiple years. It is still just good.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not something you're going to be rushing out to get again. Obviously, you're
No,
probably still on
yeah.
the same bottle.
And
Um,
especially because like they dropped it with the bonded, and the bonded was just like so much better.
yeah, and I think that's the problem they're going to be running up against is, it's kind of the do you throw out more SKUs, which is at a higher cost to you, try and keep moving whiskey, or do you cut back and focus on where you make your money at, which for Jack is going to be obviously number seven. Um, yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
was a way to try and keep sales growing as quickly as they could without having to wait 5 years to see if something was good or not and release it. Because the other downside is you can blend those couple things together, see exactly what it's going to taste like, be happy with it to the point where you feel like selling a lot of it, instead of waiting 5 or 6 years to hope that what you just put together comes out good.
Yeah, I mean that was going to be my kind of question. Like, do you think this is just like a quick and dirty way for them to experiment with different flavors and try and put something out quickly? That seems to kind of be the case to me, particularly with the Heaven Hill one, because I think Dan, you were talking about this offline. That like it's basically just the Heaven Hill bib mash bill and the Old Fitz mash bill, and they're just throwing them together.
Yeah. See if people like it.
I Yeah, I don't know. Dirty to me isn't the right word. I'm going to defend the distilleries a little bit here because I think that 10 to 15 years ago, blended was a dirty term. But I think we can all agree that blending is now looked at more of an art. Um, Quick way to get new products out there, yeah, certainly is a quick way to get new products out there. And I feel like we've also touched on this a lot in the last couple of episodes, but people want something new, they want something different. There's a reason why people have, hundreds of bottles at home and admit that they're never going to get to drink them all, but they still keep buying bottles. is because we want to try something new. We're curious about what's out there. We're curious about these new releases. You guys are looking at me like I'm crazy, but you also know I'm right.
You're not. Who would do such a thing like that? Who would just
Looking at you ironically.
So the consumer is more curious and intrigued than ever to expand their palate and try new things, and the distilleries are aware of that, and they're doing what they can to come out with a product that gets people's attention. That's Heaven Hill doesn't need to come out with a new SKU for Heaven Hill Bonded. Like, they've already proved that SKU is an amazing $45 bottle. People love it. It sells very well. There's no hype around it anymore. It's not allocated anymore, and it still sells very well. But hey, for all of you who like our $45 bottle of the Bond, we're now offering you something else that's a little bit different. I think it's cool as a consumer to be able to have different options.
Yeah, that one I think is interesting. As far as I can remember off the top of my head, they don't have a 4-grain product, and that bottle basically creates a 4-grain product, which is interesting. I don't think that's really the case with most of the other examples that we listed, though. A lot of the other ones are just either blending the same, like Four Roses is just 4 different bourbon mash bills, or a few different bourbon mash bills, and then like Star Hill is 2 different wheat whiskey mash bills blended together.
Yeah, and I don't know for sure on the Star Hill side. There is a reason for some of these where you would distill 2 completely different whiskeys and then blend them together afterwards. And that's just going to be because through experimentation, you may find out that with this mash bill or with this amount of rye in the bourbon or with this amount of wheat, this yeast yields a better result and or more or less volume of alcohol, but it doesn't taste as good in this other one. So instead of combining everything into one, and you can put different yeasts, you can pitch multiple yeasts at the same time, but they're going to work on both of the alcohols the same way. Where if you have a mash bill over here that you want this yeast specifically in and no other yeast in it, you ferment that and distill it. You have your B fermenter over here. That's going to have this mash bill in it. That's going to have this different yeast in it. It's going to have different fermentation time than this one because that's where we find out we get the best thing. We distill that separately. We let them age, and then we blend them together. There is a reason why you would do that distilleries ways. I don't know for sure, but Star Hill, considering that's an estate whiskey, which means that majority of it was grown on site at makers, I would almost believe that that's been in the plan and that's been in the works since they started that experimentation. Stuff like the Heaven Hill, yes, it's just throwing Heaven Hill Bonded and Old Fitz mash bills and whiskey together to make a new whiskey. So there are some ways, some reasons in the distillery you'd strategically do things separate and then mix them at the end. I gut feeling is that's more or less probably what Star Hill is doing, and maybe what some of the other ones we mentioned are doing as well too. Unless you have a really good into the operations, you're not really going to know that for sure. But there are specific reasons you'd want to do that.
It's like for Star Hill, Mash Bill 1 is about 70% the soft red winter wheat and 30% malted barley. The second is 100% malted soft red winter wheat. So like in that case, it's probably to keep the malted grains separate, right? And let them develop their unique flavor and then
no,
blend
not
them together
necessarily.
later,
I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. For Estate Whiskey Alliance, or to be an estate whiskey, I forget what the final percentage has to be. And I thought it might have been over 70%.
Of
So
grown on site.
grown
Yeah.
on
Okay.
property owned and or farmed by the distillery. So if they had a 70-30, that might not have made it. I'll have to look that up here in a second. So by blending that with
More of
100%
their,
grown on
yeah.
theirs, that'll put the amount of grain grown past it to stay on the EWA,
Yeah, that
which
makes sense.
could be part of the reason they did that. So, not saying for sure, but that's one way to kind of fudge that. And back when they first started growing this and first started doing this, they probably didn't know because everything for the Estate Whiskey Alliance didn't really finalize until right before I left Whiskey Acres. So they would have had to have some of that stuff in barrels before that even came out. So,
Right.
but it's 67% estate grown.
Okay.
So 2/3 of the mash bill has to be estate grown, and they're not growing their own barley. I know that. So because the only thing I think they grow on site, which I haven't been there, Jake, you've been there, but I'm pretty sure the only thing they grow on the distillery site is just wheat.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pretty positive about that. We'd have to confirm that, but yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, that brings up a good point because I feel like the consumer becoming more educated than ever is starting to ask more questions on like four grain stuff specifically. Like, was this distilled as a four grain where all four grains were distilled and put into the barrel at the same time, or is this just a blend of two mash bills? And it's almost impossible to be, because I hear this a lot from consumers, but I don't think it's right to say like, oh, I don't like bourbons when they're, or four grains when they're blended together at the end. The only way you could answer that question is if you tried the same bourbon distilled and put into the barrel as new make altogether versus that same bourbon blended at the end. But I feel like when four grain became a hot word, and this was, maybe 8, 10 years ago, we started to see a lot more four grains, and a lot of them were blended together at the end of maturation. Which, if you know what you're doing with blending, you can certainly come up with a really, really complex product. But if you're just, it's not as easy as just tossing two different mash bills together. Anyone who's attempted any type of blend knows that's the case.
You just
Yeah.
had made me think of a really good idea that I need to text some people at Whiskey Acres about.
Well,
It would
Gold
have
Eagle
to.
gets it first.
Well, no, it would just be for like your next master class. Maybe somebody should show people the difference between a four grain distilled as a four grain and a
Oh,
four grain blended.
I mean, I've never experienced that. Like, that would be super
Yeah, that'd be
cool
cool.
if you have that aging to try the same thing distilled versus
Write it
blended
down,
at the
Pat.
end.
I'm texting them.
Come up with a little
As a
2-pack gift set. No, we
In
don't like gift sets.
375s.
Tell them, Dan.
yeah. No, that'd be an interesting taste. But yeah,
Oh,
that's another way to do a four grain is if you're not straight doing four grain. I've said it. There's not a lot of four grains I really enjoy out there.
Same.
So this could be a thing where distilleries know people don't like true four grains, and they feel they can blend something with four grains in it that they could technically label as a four grain and move some volume with.
or like you said,
Yeah,
Dan, like you don't know what it's going to taste like 6 years down the road, so you're not going to fully commit to running this mash bill and creating hundreds of barrels with this mash bill that we don't know that anyone's going to like. It's so much safer to just run two separate mash bills and figure out the blend combination later on if it even works. So cheating, I don't really think it's cheating. I think it's more smart, and it just gives you more options later on to have those two mash bills separate and then kind of tweak with the blends. But that's just me.
Yeah, I would think you get so much more control blending after the fact, right? Like, you just dial in exactly how much of one or the other that you want to get whatever flavor profile you're after. Especially if you have two, tried and true mash bills that you're dealing with.
I think if you ask any distiller, they're going to say that that's cheating.
Well, Dan, obviously it is, but like, I think I mean,
if you ask a blender, they're going to be like, well, yeah, because there's so much art involved. And you ask a distiller, they're like, no, they're too big of a puss to try and distill it the proper way. So,
Yeah,
well,
true,
for a distillery like Heaven Hill, or even like, I mean, any of the big six, like, I'm sure that stopping production to do a small run of like a 4-grain mash bill is like a huge pain in the ass, and probably not worth it. Unless they can do a proof of concept.
No,
like
that's totally worth it.
This is not too bad.
They worth it. It's worth it because Heaven Hill knows there's a shit ton of people like you, Jake, that'll be like, oh, I gotta get it. This is gonna be awesome. Like, they know that they're gonna do that. That's all.
I had a lot of people text me when this came out, and I'm not interested in it. Like, I'd like to try it, but like, I'm not gonna run out and buy one.
What if Gold Eagle doesn't have it at the tasting bar, but they have it for sale?
Jake would open a bottle for me.
What if Jake's not around? Jake got hit by a bus. It's Drew running the place now.
Drew would open
a
it.
bottle for
yeah.
me.
And the store would go bankrupt.
I was gonna say the store would be under very quickly. But would you buy it?
I'm just kidding, Drew.
Would you buy it if you couldn't taste it, Jake? That's the question.
If I couldn't taste it,
if it was a Heaven Hill product, yes.
No, I'd want to taste this one in particular.
If it was a new, you're gonna buy come on, a $50 Heaven Hill bottled in bond.
Yeah,
you're not gonna buy it.
He's trying to prove a point.
Come on,
come on, for real. Like, I'm not excited about this one. Like, I don't
that's
know
why
what
you
it's
wanted to do
like.
this as a topic for the episode.
Bullshit. Oh, bless me.
No, well,
geez,
I think it's interesting that there's a trend, seemingly, of this, particularly among the bigger distilleries, of trying to do these like quick, like mashup kind of SKUs.
I think they just sit in a room with all of their bottles open, and nobody's leaving until we figure out a new SKU.
At Buffalo Trace, like, just change the color of the label and put it
on. Let's spin the wheel of color. What color have not we done yet?
But don't put too much out, though. Put some out, but not that much out.
Yeah, not enough to satisfy any kind of market demand.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? They make good whiskey. They make
just
a lot of
the
money.
right amount, so it sells out everywhere, and then people get asking about it, and then we'll turn the switch and make more.
What's going to be awesome is when all those closets full of Blantons go up for auction, and they're like $30 a bottle for Blantons on auction websites.
I don't think that'll happen, considering retail's 3 times the size of that. You want to do a aftermarket bet on that one as well, too, to go with the Pappy bet we got going on?
No, because I'm exaggerating. But
okay, all right.
I think in the next year or two, there's going to be a lot of people upset that have 200 bottles of Blantons in a closet somewhere.
I don't think people will be upset that they hoarded Blantons. I think people will be more upset that they hoarded Weller Special Reserve.
Well, yeah.
I
yes,
would
for sure.
To be fair, if I was sitting on a stock of Eagle Rare, I would be upset because I know I would drink.
No, Eagle Rare for sure would be worth hoarding.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think people will be upset that they're sitting on Blantons because I still don't see people not wanting that for a long time. So I think that'll still continue to be something that's pretty
yeah. Well, yeah, Special Reserve for sure will be one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I wish, like, I only distilled for 2 years, and obviously I just learned from Rob. And he's way more nerdy about this than I do. And I know that there's going to be way more on the distilling side of pros and cons and advantages and disadvantages to distilling them separately and blending at the end. But I also know at the end of the day, he said just make good whiskey at the first time. You don't got to blend. Yeah, I mean, that's all this really is they're trying to move more as much whiskey as possible. They're sitting on a bunch. How can we make this whiskey sell? And Jake, I bet you're not too far off of. All right, we have a team here. How are we going to move all these different types of whiskey? How are we going to move all this whiskey? What are some ideas? No idea is a bad idea. Let's start drinking. Maybe we should do that more often for the show.
Oh, do you think it's a byproduct of the amount of inventory
I think
they have?
why we're seeing more of it now is a byproduct of the whiskey that's sitting on shelves not moving.
But I also think they're not going to just slap a label on some garbage with their name on it and throw it out there. So that's why I'm on the side of the distillery. I think, hey, if we have a lot of whiskey, what are we going to do? We're not just going to, shove the same thing down people's throats and force them to buy more Evan Williams. No, let's come up with something unique, something that we think tastes good, something with a catchy label, and let's come out with a new SKU. Anytime any of these big distilleries come out with a new product, it is impossible to keep in stock. Everybody's asking for it. So why would you not come out with another quality product? And as long as it is good and people enjoy it, they'll keep coming back. So you've gained the trust of the public, and you can keep experimenting and keep putting out new products. And I think, as I said earlier, as a consumer, that's what I want. I'm more interested in tasting new whiskeys than I ever have been. There's so much out there, and people's palates are so developed now that I think we appreciate diving into a new whiskey that has an intriguing mash bill more than we ever have.
Have you gotten the new Heaven Hill one in the store yet?
No, and I know. He texted me like 2 minutes ago, said charge my card.
I heard the cha-ching from the online order.
No, I just checked to see if it was in stock yet at the distributor, and it's not. So it's probably coming soon, and who knows? Maybe it'll come before this episode even airs, because it's Tuesday right now, and what's going to come out on Sunday. So it could be in stock before this episode airs, and we'll post it. And I'm sure just like any of the other Heaven Hill products, it'll be kind of limited at first, and then after that you can get it whenever and wherever. But I'm very intrigued. I'm very interested. I will be opening a bottle for the bar as soon as we get it, so that I can taste it and let people see what this new whiskey's all about.
No, I don't have to commit.
You don't have to, but you got to come in.
I guarantee you this is what's going to happen. Jake's going to get a sample of it. He's going to be like, oh my God, this is so good. And he's going to buy a bottle of it. And then 3 years later, we'll be doing a podcast. We'll be like, yeah, it's okay. That's my bet.
What are you referencing?
Every single whiskey that we ever tried when we first started. And now you're like, yeah, no, it's good. But it was the best ever when we tried. That's what I'm referencing.
I don't think I do that.
You don't think, but you do.
I think Roberto did that.
Well, Roberto liked everything.
Roberto did hype me up a lot about a lot of whiskey, so maybe it's true.
Yeah, you guys say that I'm the old crotchety one, and it's just because I don't give everything a glowing review. But, yeah.
No, you're just you're picky and discriminatory.
And you know what I find interesting with these big distilleries that they're leaning more into this is that they're leaning more into this than the finish game of different barrel finishes. Like they all have.
I think finishing is almost done.
I don't think it'll be done, but I think that.
Well, I think they know which ones are good.
Finish, yeah.
Like yeah.
Well,
the crazy experimental stuff is basically over. Yeah. I think Amberana, I think, was like a death knell for that when people just started putting out the way over oaked Amberana stuff, like that turned off a lot of people to finishing in general.
Well, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think distilleries probably realized how much extra work is involved. And I
I
don't
don't think
think the
it's.
consumer, well,
I
we're
don't think it's
thinking
the extra work. I think it's the extra cost because if you look at just
both.
Heaven Hill in this, if you look at Heaven Hill in this example, uh, they are just blending together two different types of whiskey, and they don't have to buy another barrel to put it in, and they're going to sell it at a higher price. Where normally you're going to have to sell a finished whiskey at a higher price. One, because those barrels aren't cheap. Two, those barrels take a lot of time. Because I'll tell you one thing I learned in the distillery: filling used barrels, no matter how hard you try and keep those things hydrated, they still leak like a sieve and cause issues at barreling. You're going to lose whiskey out of the barrel from that, and then you're fighting with it the entire time it's aging.
So exactly.
So
Time.
yeah, there's
Lots
more
of
work, there's
time.
more money, and we can just take a couple things we have off the racks. We can blend them together in a big blending tank,
We know what it's
and
going
we
to
don't
taste
have any
like.
barrel costs, and we're still going to sell it for more money and make more profit off of it. So, yeah, you're not constantly trying to stay ahead of the fad because we saw with Amberana, it had a slow lead in. It took off very quickly then, and then everyone and their brother did it, and then Amberana was sitting everywhere. So the finishing game is difficult just because, like all things with whiskey, you have to plan further ahead. Where this, you really don't have to plan too far ahead.
We're going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but the one that I'm surprised didn't blow up the way Amberana did is Mizunara.
Because it's
Because
so damn
it's,
expensive.
Super
yeah,
expensive.
I mean, but it tastes great.
Yes, yeah, it does.
Like,
But you're talking one of the most rare oaks in the world.
no, I know, but I'm just surprised that there wasn't like more one-off special releases just to try and capitalize off of that. But
it's hard for distilleries to get their hands on it. I mean, even the same, like there's a reason why Amberana took so long to take off. Like Starlight was one of the originators with the
yeah,
Amberana, and everybody, when Starlight first came out with Amberana, everybody went nuts for it for years. We were on a waiting list for like 3 years to do a Starlight Amberana pick because nobody else had Amberana. And when you thought of Amberana or cigar blend, you thought of Starlight. And something happened, some kind of break happened where Amberana was, I don't know if it was easier to get or people just figured out that they could use wood chips of Amberana and reuse barrels that were, because you could tell a major difference between a first fill Amberana cask and a second, third, or fourth fill Amberana cask. And if you like Amberana, you're going to want that first fill every time. So
Yeah.
I think they found a way to chop up the cask and get it out there to more people because now it's not as rare as it was for a few years.
Jake, here's the difference. So last couple of years ago, when I was at Whiskey Acres, I believe a 53-gallon whiskey barrel, new and charred, was going for about $440 a barrel.
uh,
I'm sure it's up a little bit since then. I just looked at Cask Global, and to get a hogshead of a Mizunara, which is a little bit bigger than 50, I think just shy of 60 gallons, to buy a hogshead of a Mizunara barrel from Cask Global right now is $4,500 for the used barrel.
oh, so 10x, okay, gotcha.
And after and it doesn't say if it's first fill, which means it's probably not first fill.
Yeah,
Usually that will say first fill on. So, and every time you use it for a finish, you're going to lose more and more and more of the Mizunara out of it. So,
yeah.
they can cost up to $6,000 for a first fill versus $430 for a normal whiskey barrel cask that we use here in the States.
Okay. Then you solved my my question.
Yeah. Like when I say expensive, it's real fucking expensive. Yeah. So when you're over 10x, that's why.
Yeah.
That was like when I was at when I moved out here and went to High West the first time. I mean, all things said, High West is still a big distillery, and they had a little display area where they had 8 Mizunura barrels aging. And I'm like, where are the other ones? They're like, this is it. So,
I wonder how, because the barrel craft Mizunara was only like $80, right? I wonder how they cut the cost down on that.
well, not.
Well, we
maybe
heard it
not.
on the podcast. They did use casks. They always use casks. Remember when we had a Trip on here and Ned? Shout out to those guys. Hope they're doing well. But they always use casks, but there we go. Barrel cigar blend. Gold Eagle's getting more of that soon. We've had so many requests. So hopefully when this episode airs, we still have it in stock. I think we're getting it tomorrow. But Barrel Craft, what they do is they age in full size barrels. They don't cheat, or I shouldn't say cheat, because I think there's some quality products coming out with like wood chips of these types of oak. But the barrel does use full size barrels, and they layer in unfinished spirit with the barrel that was aged in Mizunara.
Oh, okay.
Which is also why they're fairly subtle. Every single barrel craft finished release has been very subtle. Not
easily
what you
the best Amberana.
I hear that from
very, very
so many
balanced.
people. Like best Amberana, best Mizunara, like so affordable. It's affordable, and people are saying it's the best because like you're tasting the wood without it getting shoved down your throat.
Yeah.
Like you can taste the flavors of Mizunara and Amberana and whatever other finishes they've done, like the cigar blend, which is 4 different finishes together. Like you can taste each of those flavors, and it's not like a punch in your face like some of these other finishes are. It's subtle. You get the flavor without the boom because they're layering it in with unaged whiskey of that blend. So they set some aside, they put some of it in the barrel and figure out a good balance.
It's like a good steak. You don't want to have a good cut of steak and then season it to death. You want the steak
salt and
flavor
pepper
come.
only.
S&P, the choice for me.
You got to find that balance.
Yeah.
Jake
So what
doesn't
if you-
know about that, but
Just like a good piece of tofu, right?
I was trying to think if I've ever had tofu, but no, I've had.
I mean, that was sort of a joke. Like, yeah, I don't eat meat, but I eat a lot of a good fish. And when you have a really nice piece of
a
salmon,
nice salmon. Yeah.
and you put it on a wood plank, and you put a
cedar
little
plank,
seasoning on it,
throw it
cedar
on a
plank,
cedar.
put a little seasoning on it. You're not going to douse it in oil and seasoning. You want it just a little tad. You don't need much if it's a good base to start.
Yeah, that was our tangent. Sorry, but yeah. More of the story. If you want to buy a Mizunara cask, it's $5,000, or you can go to a distillery and do a whole barrel pick for like $14,000 and get all the whiskey, not just the barrel.
Learn how to properly season your meat if you're gonna grill.
That's see, I don't know if I don't have to, I'm never grilling steaks ever again.
What? Cast iron?
Cast iron.
Yeah. I like grill.
No, thank you.
I like I got my little like portable Santa Maria, so do a real wood fire. Cook the steak on the real wood fire. That's nice.
So you're gonna bring it down to Kentucky at the end of the month?
No, because I'm not driving.
Oh, I got a badass transition. If you guys are ready.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
it
ready
is.
for it. I'm not
All
working
right.
tonight, so go ahead and take it.
So while we're recording right now, I just got a message from Chris E. saying he's listening to our episode with Marlene Holmes and finished off a bottle of their Provisions bourbon, Milam and Green. Awesome episode. If you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to it. But also, Chris was in the store today, and him and I were chatting about the Bacta blends. And he
Hmm.
was like, "How did they come? How did they think to blend rye whiskey and Calvados and come up with a product? And how did they think to blend bourbon and Armagnac and come up with a product?" So, do we want to take this to another level and not only talk about blending mash bills of bourbon and rye, but also blending different spirits together?
Yes, but
Yes, and I can
let's.
tell you exactly why.
But before we do
Tell
that,
us.
can we address the elephant in the room?
What?
Like that episode was 3 months ago. What the hell are you doing? How are you so far behind?
That
Hey,
too.
man,
Catch up.
as long as they're listening to us,
I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed.
as
It
long as
hurts
they're
the
listening
metrics,
to us,
Chris.
it's
Catch
okay.
up.
Like, I
All right,
appreciate the
Jake.
support. He'll listen to this in December and be like,
Uh,
"Oh, you guys were talking about me on that one episode." I'll be like, "I have no idea what you're talking about."
I'll appreciate his support in 3 months.
Yeah.
All
Jake,
right.
go ahead with what you were talking about.
Oh, so both of those combinations, the Ryan Calvados and bourbon and Armagnac, are like perfectly complementary to each other. And I'll explain that a little bit further. Rye is very like spicy and all the different things, floral and blah blah blah, right? And when you add like really intense sweetness to it, it just balances like incredibly well. Bourbon is harder because it's generally like more sweet, a lot more of those like decadent kind of notes to begin with. I feel like Armagnac really brings that like dry, like red wine fruitiness, that can really balance out the super sweet bourbon. So that's why I think they wanted to blend those different spirits together. Might be something to ask Raj if he ever comes on again.
I was gonna say,
Well, I think I know his answer, but
I think the reason Barrel Craft does that is Raj bought a ton of Armagnac and noticed it wasn't being blended in with American bourbon and found a niche that he could settle into and also promote his Armagnac as well as his whiskey.
all right, back
I'm
to the
not saying that's a
serious
good thing
side
or
of
a bad
things.
thing. That's He's a businessman. He thinks numbers
No,
and
I know, yeah. So yeah, no, I love the take. I think, well, I think you're absolutely correct, Jake. I just think there's one more layer to that. I do think the young rye whiskey that is like super fruity and floral, just kind of blends really, really nice with the Calvados apple brandy, and
Mm-hmm.
then the old Armagnac rounds it out. So we were sitting there tasting a couple of different 1928 blends that we have, and just honestly looking at each other and discussing like how are these like not talked about more. Like these are some of the best whiskeys or whatever you want to call them, spirit specialty blends, to just sit there and get a nice change of pace from what we're shoved down our throats all the time. And then you look at Hogsworth, which is like a $20 to $30. Some of the older age stated ones are $50 blends of old Armagnac that sells for $300 $400 a bottle, with young bourbon. So like this is to me one. Yes, the flavors match up very nicely and complement each other, and offer the consumer something totally different, a big change of pace. But two, a gateway of getting people into these other spirit categories that I think, up until recent years, have been almost like a dirty word in the U.S. Like nobody knew what Armagnac was. Nobody wanted Armagnac. When people thought of Armagnac, it was like, oh, this is some weird type of brandy or cognac. When in reality, it's like a more refined cognac. Same thing with Calvados. I think the bourbon industry kind of ruined the name of Calvados, because we've seen some bad finishes in Calvados, and people are just like, "Ew, Calvados tastes like apples." But when you do something right, like they're doing, and kind of layer these different mash bills, if you will, because that's the topic of the episode together, and it works. I think you're creating a whole nother category of spirit.
Yeah,
Like
totally
they
agree.
call it a spirit specialty because there really is no category that exists to define these things. So if we're talking about blending different mash bills together, I think it's totally, we should be discussing this and talking about different spirits, like entirely different spirits blending together. I think this is tapping into the start of what could be in the spirits industry.
Well, the other thing on the 1928s is when you throw in a little bit of that peat, it really starts to do something really, really cool.
Good description.
Is it the Lindbergh one that was the peated one? That was like the big special release.
They did a bunch of different ones. Are you talking about the Bacta 50
Yeah.
collection? Yeah, so they did, which those are like Armagnac blends finished
Yeah. Those were Armagnac blends.
but
I
like
think
now
it was
like
either
they
the
just
Gatsby or the Lindbergh or something like that. That
Gatsby
was
is
those.
Remus.
no, but
No, I
thought
think
didn't he have one
Bacta
that
might
was?
have had one too, but those, I mean, those were, so that was their original thing they came out with, was the Bacta 50. And sorry, I don't mean to turn this into like a Bacta episode, but I just think with the 1928 and the Hogsworth, like he's completely changing the laws and the rules and just what we think of with blending spirits together. And he just came out with the Bacta 250th, which is the 1868 blend, which is like their Hogsworth on steroids, if you will. He's blending 1868 and 1888 Armagnac with bourbon, with 19-year-old, 20-year-old bourbon.
You gonna get one of those actual 1868 full Armagnac bottles for 295,000?
I've tasted it. I've tasted it.
You gonna sell it in the store for 295,000?
I will. If somebody wants to buy it, then we'll bring it in. But no, we're not going to bring it in unless somebody wants to buy it. Well, so here's the crazy thing about the 1868. When I first went to Bacta, probably 4 or 5 years ago, the welcome pour was 1868, and we were the first group to go and visit, so he was treating us pretty good. And he did say, like, this is the last time you're probably going to get to taste this, so take this in, enjoy it. And it was the best thing I've ever nosed. Don't know if I can say it was the best thing I ever tasted. Just knowing that at the time it cost $20,000 for a bottle. Fast forward a couple years, that bottle 2 weeks ago was worth $50,000. I got a notification from him saying, "Hey, we're changing the price from $50,000 to $211,000 per bottle, and this is because we are almost out. This is the oldest Armagnac available in the world that you can buy." And it was like last call to buy it for $50,000, and I turned down to buy it for $50,000 because no bottle is worth that amount.
Should have bought it
And
at
now
20.
they're selling it for $211,000 for a bottle.
Question for you, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
If I can broker a sale for one of those bottles, will you give me 5,000 commission?
Sure.
If you're listening and want to buy a $211,000 bottle of Armagnac, go to Gold Eagle, tell Jake the band sent you. Thank you very much. I will buy you a bottle of Bacta 1928.
But so we got off on this tangent here, and I'm just gonna throw in there that like That is what Bacta is doing and can do. Like, they have the oldest Armagnac supply in the world, and when supply gets bought up, they're going to raise the price. This was their plan all along. So if Armagnac is intriguing, now is the time to look into it and
Nah, it
see
sounds
what
like
you
about a
want.
year ago was the time to look into it.
Well, just that one bottle has gone up that much. I mean, that's absurd. I'll go out there on record and say that's a little absurd. They probably have like 2 bottles left in existence, and there's no more barrels of it. So it's like, all right, this is the oldest on Earth. Somebody is going to come and pay it. But the same thing is going to happen with the other vintages. But to get back to our episode topic, I love what they're doing with blending different spirits together and coming up with something totally new. Because as we talked about in the beginning of this episode, as somebody who's super into spirits and super into tasting and trying new things, that is what I'm always looking for. Something outside the box, something that will wow me, and something that when I go to my collection of bottles that I have at home completely stands out, and there's nothing that can compete. Compete's not the right word, but compare.
No, that's right.
Maybe compete's the right word, but compare.
No, I think I mean, we talked at the past few episodes, we've talked a lot about how particularly the big six and some of the other large brands are part of these like massive portfolios of spirits. I think the next frontier is like inter-spirit blending, and trying to find those
blending.
types of combinations that like really work.
And they're like weird, but like they can work.
Well, I think Raj, I think, had a particular.
I'm gonna grab some
particularly
1928
good
right now.
circumstance. Because like he obviously started Whistle Pig, had a good handle on rye, a decent handle on bourbon, and acquired all that Armagnac, so he had a really good foundation for what would go together well. But I mean, like, we were talking about Brown Foreman. Brown Foreman owns, how many different spirits brands? Like dozens and
not
dozens.
that many, but Heaven Hill owns like 1,000.
But yeah. So like, I mean, there's all kinds of shit that you can mix with bourbon and and rye and whatever, right? Like, but there's like rum finished rye. Why not just blend rum into rye?
I know what.
Well, because then you're getting dirty.
Like,
then you're getting dirty. Then that's a dirty thing. People don't like that.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to put it under the Heaven Hill label. You put it under something else.
Jake just wants a Weller and Wheatley blend.
A Weller and Wheatley?
Absolutely not.
Dan, the fact that you were thinking about that.
Diets.
The fact that you were thinking about that, Dan.
I had to stop and think, what is Wheatley again? Oh yeah, the vodka.
Right? Weller light blue.
Light blue.
It's 50% vodka, 50% Weller full proof.
Hey,
yeah, like Dan's t-shirt blue. That's what.
Yeah.
We've all been to college. We've all drank worse. I guarantee you.
I don't think so.
I guarantee you something's gone through a bong that was not what you thought it was.
I mean, 100%. There's a lot of worse things out there than blending Wheatley, which is a premium vodka, with Weller, which is a okay bourbon.
That sounds like one of the worst things I've ever heard of in my entire life.
That does sound terrible, but I would rather have that than Skull.
I was gonna say, I bet it tastes better than that Pink Lady Barstool shit or whatever they call it.
I don't care if it tastes better. It's better for me to have that than Skull.
If it comes in plastic, you know it's good. Like, I always thought Skull was bad till I went out and visited a buddy at Iowa State College, and their type of Skull vodka was Hawkeye vodka, and it was worse than Skull. Oh, That was
Who's
bad.
distilling that out there?
I don't know. I was 20 at the time,
It's
I
not
think.
Cedar Ridge, is it?
I doubt it.
Don't talk shit about Cedar Ridge.
Oh, yeah, you and your freaking Slipknot or whatever whiskey.
The Slipknot whiskey is pretty good, but the cigar blend quintessential is one of the best whiskeys I've ever had in my entire life.
All right. Well, we can obviously tell that summer is running out and not enough of you
Oh,
are buying
God. Come on,
product with
Dan.
Gold Eagle because Jake is still in the dark. Jake, where can people support your store so we can afford you a $15 ring light?
I have a ring light. It's right here. I don't want to turn it on. I just wanted you to have that transition for the end of the episode.
He wants that nice, soft, incandescent light, not the
He wants like a
harsh LED
$30
light.
ring light, not a 15, so it's going to take a couple more weeks. I get it.
I mean, seriously, if you're still listening to us at this point and watching us, I mean, listening, yes. Watching us at this point, come on. Don't you have something better to do? No, I'm just kidding.
Even if it's 3 months too late.
Don't say that.
I'm totally
we get credit
joking.
when they finish the episode.
Totally joking. You should be watching all the way through. 100%.
You never know when a coupon code's going to drop.
I mean, I feel like I didn't plan for one, but we haven't dropped one in a while. So, you guys want to give me an idea?
I mean,
for
you
a
talked
coupon
a lot
code?
about Bacta.
Mm-hmm.
We already have a Bacta code, don't we?
I feel like we do, but we can give it out. We can give out another one. Yeah. All right. BM Bacta for 10% off any Bacta product that isn't already on sale.
Does that include the $211,000 bottle? Or is that going to cut into my commission?
I'm going to have to check to see what our actual cost is on that. Okay. And if I can apply the coupon code to that, then I absolutely will.
Dude, a $20,000 coupon code would get us crazy.
You'll save so much money. You'll save so much money.
Jake's going to make 3% on this and he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. All right. So BM Bacta, 10% off any Bacta product that's in stock. Sorry to it's not on sale. Sorry to tangent over to them, but I do feel like if we're talking about blending different mash bills, they're a great example for coming up with a really good end product from two different, very different starting products. So BM Bacta at goldeaglewine.com or on our app, on the Apple App Store, Google Play Store, will get you 10% off any Bacta product that isn't already on sale. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Gold Eagle Wine. Follow us on Facebook at Gold Eagle Spirits. And yeah, cheers to you all. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
And speaking of that, I'll throw it over to Jake here in a second, who, if you want to hear when Raj was on the podcast, he'll tell you how to do that, or tell you how to do that. But I think, Jake, this just means we need to get Raj to come back on and actually get him to do his Trump impression this time.
Yeah.
He's made a lot of money off you because you fell in love, so I feel like he owes us a second episode on the podcast. But Jake, if people want to hear about Raj and Bacta or hear some of the other things we've rambled on about, where can people do that at?
Yeah, you can listen to us on Apple, Google, or Spotify, pretty much any other podcast platform. Watch us on Spotify and YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share the show with everyone you know. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Bourbon Matters. Send Kyle a message to say, hey, he's lonely.
He is. He's on the road a lot for work, so he could use a friend.
Yeah, Dan is not a good friend.
I am a horrible friend. So,
check out Bacta. We are not being paid by them. We are just genuine fans. Yeah, if you haven't ventured into any of the Armagnac stuff, I highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of the older age bourbon, those darker, fruitier kind of flavors. Like Armagnac is a whole nother level. And it's fantastically delicious.
all right, boys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.